This is a story of a man who spends 30 years on a single project with no support just for people he trusted, walks in and takes over his film, and releases their own version out of greed. You heard right. Today we're going to talk about Richard Williams and the film called The Thief and the Cobbler. We're going to look at why this film is considered a legend, why did this film take 3 decades to finish, why the film, which was supposed to change the history of animation, became one of its biggest tragedies. Richard Williams was a well-known artist in the animation world. If you have seen the classic Pink Panther opening credits or Who Framed Roger Rabbit, you already saw their work. He didn't just want to animate, he wanted to push the animation to its absolute limit. In the 1960s, Williams started working on a pet project. It was just an idea without any script, with no studio budget to make it. A story about a silent thief in a magical Arabian city. Williams wanted to do something had never done before. He wanted to use limited animation, but wanted to make it look fluid, complex, and incredibly intricate. He started drawing geometric patterns, complex crowds, and perspective shifts. Williams wasn't backed by a huge studio. He was doing it by himself, and invested money in the project from his pocket. He poured every cent he earned on the project he was working. But why he spent decades on the project? Because if you watched some of the clips he created between the 70s and 80s, you will notice that the backgrounds aren't just static and painted. It was shifting, they move with the characters. Williams was a perfectionist. If he thought that something is not correct in his work, or the character's movement looking bit off and he can make it better, he will start over and work on it for months till it will look perfect to him. He didn't care about deadlines, because technically, he was his own boss. For a long time, the film was a secret. Only some of the people in the industry knew about it. For a long time, the legend in the industry would visit Williams' studio just to see what he was doing. People thought that it was impossible to complete, but Williams kept working on it. Then the 80s came. Williams became the animation director for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It became a massive global hit in that time. Suddenly, everyone started to recognize Williams. Because everyone impressed by his work, the investors started to see profit working with Williams. They started approaching him and ask about the Thief movie he has been working on for 20 years. Williams finally got funding for his project. But this is where things started turning dark. The people who signed the check weren't artists. They were businessmen. So they weren't interested in how passionately Williams gave his time and efforts to his project for decades. They were interested in the product. They started giving him deadlines. They demanded script, something Williams was avoiding for decades because he wanted to create something mind-blowing and exceptional. That's why he had to rush years of work in months. Now what I am going to talk is very sad and hurts to talk about. The financiers, a company called Completion Bond Company, realized that the movie not gonna finized under the deadline. In the industry, a completion bond means if the production goes off track, the bond company has rights to step in, take the film, and finish under the deadline to save their investment. And that's exactly what they did. They fired Williams Richard. They literally take away Williams' work. He was working on it for decades. They hired other animators to finish the film, but they didn't have Williams' vision. They needed a marketable product rather than an exceptional art piece. So they added songs. They added voiceovers for the thief who was never supposed to speak according to Williams. They changed the pacing, they cut out the most complex sequences, and forced a masterpiece to look like a generic animation film. The version they released of The Princess and the Cobbler, later named as Arabian Night, wasn't that unique and impressive. It was a standard mediocre cartoon. When people saw the movie, they got confused. They heard that it was gonna be the greatest film ever made, but what they saw on screen was fine, not that great. Richard Williams never saw the completed version. So, is that the end? Is the greatest film never finished? Not exactly. After some years passed, something great happened. The people who love Williams' work started hunting down every piece of original footage they could find. They successfully find some work prints, pencil tests, and rough scenes. They brought everything together and made a fan-edited version of the original movie called Recobbled Cut. They attempted to restore Williams' original vision. When you finally watch the recobbled cut, you finally understand why Williams spent 30 years on it. You see the genius. You see the fluid, impossible movement. You see a film that, had it been finished in 1990 under his control, might have completely changed the way we view animation today. It's a reminder that art and business rarely get along. But more than that, it's a testament to the fact that great art never really dies. It just waits for someone to recognize it.